Welcome to this French Rugby Show. I'm your host, Chris Saltani. Let's roll the intro.
I'm just in the middle of editing. I just realised I haven't filmed another intro. Maybe we'll try for next week. Sorry about that. Back to you, Chris.
This is the wrap-up show looking back on the round 2 of the top 14. But before we get into that, I just want to thank you all for your support for the first episode of the French Rugby Show. It meant a lot. And as I said, I want to get better in bringing better content. And as the weeks go on, just adding to the show bit by bit. As I said on the first episode, we have 2 shows. The previous show previewing the weekend's games, who's in, who's out, any news coming out of top 14, and we'll preview our match of the round. And then Monday is the wrap-up show, wrapping up everything top 14, the winners, the losers, and the star performers. Alright, let's get into it. Let's have a look at the results from this weekend's game, round 2 of the top 14. Bayonne just going down to Clermont, La Rochelle beating Stade Francais, Montpellier dominating Pau, Agen getting the W against Brive, Bordeaux putting a strong performance against Toulon, and Racing beating Castres in Racing, and Lyon getting the victory against Stade Toulousain. Alright, some stats from this weekend. 326 points scored, 32 tries, 4 bonuses, 2 of them offensive bonus points and 2 defensive bonus points, and 14 cards. 11 of those yellow, 3 of them red. Top scorer for the weekend, Mathieu Jalibert from Bordeaux, topping off the weekend with 18 points, and Montpellier dotting down for 6 tries. Alright, moving on, first game of the round, Bayonne versus Clermont. Let's bring the team lists up. Not many changes from both sides, besides Romain Barthelemy coming in at 10 for Bayonne, with his sharp shooting boot making a difference last week in Racing against Racing. Obviously Racing against Racing in Racing to get the win. Former All Black George Moala comes into the starting lineup. Now, I would love on the preview show to give you, team lists of both teams, who's playing in what position against who, and to give you matchups. But here in France, you don't get the list until Friday morning or Saturday morning, even day of the game. I don't know if that's just the coaches don't want the team list to go out, or if it's just the communications team, marketing team within the team who looks after social media, whatever, gets the teams out too late. I don't know. But anyways, this was a cracker of a game for the return of the top 14 down in the Pays Basque. For those who don't know where the Pays Basque is, time for a geography lesson.
This is map of France. In the center is Paris. Down here is Bayonne. And this whole area here is the Pays Basque. And Spain right there as well.
Bayonne got off to a great start with hooker Maxime Lamotte on loan from Bordeaux, getting on the board with a well-worked maul 7 metres out from the try line. Lack of discipline on Bayonne's part allowed the boot of Jake McIntyre to keep in reach of Bayonne, and George Moala crossing over for a 5-pointer to go into the half 24-19 to Bayonne. Going to the second half, you got a sense that patience was the key for Clermont. Bayonne needed to keep their discipline. Towards the back end of the first half, you saw that they gave away the penalties that allowed Clermont to inch closer and closer on the scoreboard. Just 4 minutes in the second half, the lack of discipline for Bayonne saw a yellow, and then Clermont went on to score 2 tries in the second half, leading Clermont by 7. With 2 minutes left in the game with a penalty 40 metres out. So Clermont had the choice, being 7 points down, 40 metres out, to either kick for touch and then go for a draw game and hopefully get the 2 points for the draw, or to kick the 3 and get the bonus losing point and have at least the last minute to have another crack by getting the ball back off the kickoff. The match ended up finishing 30-34. But that's the thing in top 14, that's the difference between winning and losing games, is discipline. And in the top 14 it's crucial, only because you have kickers in the team who can bang them from anywhere in 50 metres in, and some instances 60 metres in as well. So, discipline is important, and, a lot of games are won in the top 14 with those kickers who have those capabilities. For example, in the last 10 minutes, or if in the last minute, to kick those 3-point winners from 55, 49 metres out on angle, easy. Bayonne did have a good game, and from the 2 games that they had, 2 tough games may I add, Racing at Racing and also having the vice champs Clermont at home for the first home game of the season, they did play really well in both games, and to the point where if they were to continue like that throughout the season, I know it's a long season, they could state their claim to stay up in the top 14. But as I said, it is a long season, And I wish all the best to Bayonne. Game 2 on Saturday on the Canal Plus multiplex was Agen versus Brive. Changes for Agen in fly half with Raphael Lagarde coming in and Johan Sadie in at 12. Brive more or less the same team as last week. But I said last week Friday when I did the preview show that whoever turns up defensively, would win. It was a tough contest for both teams, both slugging it out with only penalties scored in the first half, finishing 3-6 going to half time. Took 3 minutes in the second half for Agen to score the first try of the game with half-back Paul Abaji crossing over. Brive came back to score with Scottish international Alex Dunbar for his first 5-point in the top 14. As I said, it was a tough contest in the first half. It was a tough contest right to the end, and discipline played a part of what could have been a different outcome for Brive. Penalties are crucial, like I said. You can have guys who can whack him from 50 metres out. Agen had the penalty 52 metres out and slotted it to extend their lead, denying Brive the losing defensive point. So we see Agen come away with 4 points. Was good after the last weekend's game against Toulon, really getting dominated there, and good for them to give back to their supporters after last week's failure and getting the 4 points, getting their championship off to a start. Brive coming out with 0 points. So that's 2 games with 0 points, and they're heading into their home game against Clermont, the derby, which is a tough one for them. If Brive were going to get any points early on in the season, it was definitely the first 2 blocks with Pau and Agen. Now they're going to be going back home in front of the home crowd against Clermont, where they desperately need points. If they don't get any points here, it's going to be quite tough for them continuing the season. All right, next game, La Rochelle Stade Francais. This is the first home game of the season for La Rochelle at Stade Marcel Deflin. Now, here's the stat for you. This will be La Rochelle's 48th sold-out home game in a row. That's about 4 years of sold-out home games, 4 years of solid support, and makes you think that's probably why they're quite tough to beat at home. But both teams go into the game with the same teams as last week, with the only changes, Stade Francais with Mornay Stain making way for Joris Segon at 10. This is also Ronan Negaro's first game as coach. He's played here before at Stade Marcel Deflin, so he'll be hoping to get off to a winning start for his first appearance as coach. Stade Francais scored the first 5 points with a penalty try. Fullback Jeremy Sinzel tackling the man without the ball, getting himself 10 in the bin as well for his troubles. With 1 man down, the men in pink managed to dot down for another try, but also minutes later getting themselves a yellow card with number 8 Tyler Gray having to sit in the naughty chair, allowing La Rochelle to score 2 tries during this period. Halftime had La Rochelle leading 20-14. Scoring a try and a penalty early in the second half put La Rochelle up by 28-14, with both sides not giving an inch, battling out, and forced handling errors saw no shift on the scoreboard. The last 5 minutes, Stade Francais stepped up to another gear and scored 2 tries, converting the first one and scoring the second one right on the buzzer for Jules Plisson to convert to equal. He didn't get the hero points by drawing, but Stade Francais ended up with 1 point after a solid effort coming back. La Rochelle were a bit flat towards the end, and Stade Francais definitely showing more fight than they did last weekend against Lyon in Lyon. Stade Francais are at home for round 3 and we're desperately looking for points. La Rochelle, for me personally, and this is my personal opinion, need to find some motivation somewhere or from someone to take it up a notch. If they can get that motivation, if they can find that drive that can push them over to the next level. I love the way they play. I love the style they play. I love the players that they have in their team. There's no superstars in the team. But for me, I just think that they need to get that extra push from somewhere or from someone. I don't know where it's going to come from, but all right, Montpellier versus Pau. Montpellier adding the money in Adolo to the starting lineup for his first game of the 2019-2020 top 14 season, and experienced Manu Samoa, an ex-Bathite. I think that's what they call Bath people. Can't Fortality for his first in the top 14. Pau needed to have a solid performance defensively against Montpellier if they were to have a chance in this fixture at all. In saying that, Montpellier got off to a good start early in the half and then started to accumulate points with the money in Adolo crossing over before Montpellier were reduced to 14 men with an accidental shoulder causing a red card for hooker Yuri Delhomel. I could defend why I wouldn't have given the red card for this. Most of you out there would have probably not agreed with me, but hey, it's up for discussion. That's why we love the sport. We can talk and discuss about decisions that made. Anyway, moving on. Being 14 men down, that didn't stop Montpellier to go on and score another 4 tries to win with a bonus offensive point. Pau didn't seem to be present in the contest. They managed to score 3 tries, but also 2 yellow cards, playing with 13 for 8 minutes late in the second half. I just don't know how long Pau will be able to maintain these mediocre performances like that and manage to stay in top 14. Performances like that against a team like Agen and Brive could get you the win. They need to step it up another level against teams like Clermont, Toulouse and Racing. But it is a long season. I hope that moving forward they can show me, they can show others that they belong in the top 14 by putting some decent performances together and winning performances. But not just winning, but dominating and winning as well. Now we move to the last game of Saturday night, Bordeaux versus Toulon. Now this was a cracker of a game. Bordeaux switched the fly halves around with Mathieu Jalibert getting the nod over Ben Bodica. But on the other side, another Ben was making his first in the Rouge et Noir, Ben Tail at 12, after making the move 3 weeks ago to the prestigious club after his omission from England's World Cup squad. Now I remember saying last week, it was good to see Toulon wind back the clock to the Toulon of old, them scoring tries, just playing rugby and being dominant, and was wondering, was this a one-hit wonder or are they back in form? Bordeaux were very good collectively with some great individual performances to help Bordeaux get over the line, with Mathieu Jalibert finding some great form. The form that got him his first selection with the French team. Toulon just had no ball, and when they had the ball, they just didn't do anything with it and looked lost. Bordeaux managed to score twice in the first half with a nice little chip for Jalibert to go over and score the second. At no point in the game did Toulon look at threatening Bordeaux's defensive line. I did say that Bordeaux tend to have lapses in defence, and if they were going to win and go on and make the top 6 this season, that they needed to fix their defence issues. Toulon had no ball in this game, so there was no trouble for their defence. Now moving to the first game of Sunday, Racing versus Castres. This week we see some of the stars from Racing Metro for their first one of the season, with Teddy Thomas on the wing and Simon Zebo back in fullback, which made me think, why didn't they play them last week in their first game of the season against Bayonne? Did they underestimate them and save their stars? Or I don't know. For me, if you have the best players available, you just play them. So I want to go back to what I said last week. One thing that Castres has going for them is their set piece. They have one of the best scrums and lineouts in the competition. The Racing forwards took Castres to school in the set piece, really dominating them both in attacking and defensive scrums, winning 6 penalties in total at scrum time and disrupting them more to cut down any momentum they had moved forward. I think it was a pride battle for the Racing forwards, led by Patricio Noriega, former dual international with Argentina and the Wallabies, to take one up against his Argentinian compatriot Mauricio Rajado, giving them a rev up this week to really go out there and dominate them in set pieces. In saying that, this was only part of the performance that was led up front by the forwards to the whole team playing well. Only 2 tries in the game from Racing. Racing had majority of possession, but didn't manage to capitalise on Castres, who were hanging onto what could have been a blowout. After last weekend, we hoped that Castres would have come out with a bit more fire in the belly after an okay performance that was only won by a misconversion, which the other team did play better majority of the game, but just, again, discipline cost them the game. But happy for Racing getting that win, even though they screwed up my tips and my chance of being 7 from 7 this week. Oh well, still 6 from 7. Mauricio's men need to play better in round 3 than they did in 1 and 2 to move up the ladder and to have a chance to make the top 6. Now rounding off with the match of the round, Lyon versus Toulouse. Lyon make a few changes after their dominating performance last weekend with ex-Wallaby Liam Gill on the flank. At 10, Jonathan Vineski swapping with Jean-Marc Doussin and Charlie Natai at 12. Another thing in French rugby, when they have a team that dominates and they win, they tend to change their team the weekend after. Why not just keep that same team and grow momentum with that team? I don't get it. And when I was a player, I didn't get it as well. I played a couple of games where the team that played for the first 2 games didn't get the results, and then I get picked in the team and we go and win. And then comes the next week game, you're like chest out. I was like, oh, okay, cool, I'm going to get the nod here. And then they don't play you at all, and they play the same team that hasn't been getting results, and then they go there, play again, and then they don't get results. Yeah, I don't get it. Anyways, it's not about me, is it? It's about the top 14. With Toulouse, young Guillaume Marchand started at hooker with Richie Arnold to partner with Richie Gray in the 2 row. And in the backs, Tristan Tedder to swap in at fullback. there's one name that's noticeable on the Lyon bench, and that's Mathieu Bastel, as we all know as the barnstorming outside centre for Toulon and l'Équipe de France. But now he's trying his trade as a back rower, number 8 to be precise, to lend aid for Lyon during the World Cup period before he heads to join his new team in New York in the MLR. Now the talk is Toulon going to be a different Toulon without the internationals? Duh, of course. The question is, how are they going to react without having the international stars? Now, last week, Toulouse finished off with defensive losing bonus point against Bordeaux to get off the mark, but still was a big margin from Toulouse that won the championship last year. They were going to have to step it up against an impressive Lyon side from last weekend. Lyon came out of the block scoring a try within the first 4 minutes, only to be disallowed by having the foot in touch. Minutes later, Noah Nakatasi dots down for the only try in the game and his second of the season. For the rest of the game to be a battle between the kickers. Going back to the game, Toulouse competed well but didn't take their chances where they needed to, and Lyon just struggled to finish with the ball in hand. A penalty and a yellow card for Toulouse in the last minute caused Lyon to finish the game with a penalty 50 metres out to win and deny Toulouse the bonus losing point. Lyon will head out on the road next week, which will test their momentum, having 2 home games, and then Toulouse are home, and we'll be hoping for maximum points whilst their internationals are away. And that's the wrap up for the round 2 of the top 14. Some teams playing really well, some teams not playing really well, and some teams need to pull their fingers out of their arse. It's a long season ahead, but we can start to see the teams who are sort of going to be pushing towards the top 6, and we can see the teams who are going to be pushing and falling down towards the relegation zone. Do I name the 3 teams? I'm going to name the 3 teams. Agen, Brive, and Pau are my picks for the 3 teams who will be playing it out for the relegation spot this year. After the first 2 rounds, I don't see any other teams going to be towards down the bottom end. Alright, so we're going to have a quick look at the table after 2 weekends of the top 14. This will definitely most likely change by week 5. We'll probably see some teams who are up a bit higher drop down a bit lower, and the teams who are a bit lower will probably go up a bit higher. And quickly before we finish, highlight of the weekend, Bordeaux's collective performance to win against Toulon was the highlight. Try of the weekend, Lara's collective try, which saw some slick handling and good finish one-on-one in the corner. That's it for the French Rugby Show. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. If you do enjoy the show and you want to support the show, all you gotta do is give a thumbs up, subscribe, and share with your friends. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Rugby Show. I'm your host, Chris Alteni, and this is the French Rugby Show, signing out. A bientôt.